You wake up in a luxury hotel room because somebody is crying in the bathroom. Not loud crying, soft, panicked, like somebody trying very hard not to fall apart. The room smells like alcohol, perfume, cold air conditioning, and something else underneath it. Something metallic. The city outside is still exploding with New Year fireworks. People screaming countdowns in the streets below. Music echoing faintly through hotel walls. But inside this room, everything feels wrong. You sit up slowly on the couch, head pounding, trying to remember what happened last night. Who came to the room? Who left? Why the bathroom door was closed. Then someone finally pushes the door open. And for one horrible second, nobody says anything. Because inside the bathtub, there's a girl lying motionless. Skin turning blue. Bruises across her legs and arms. Eyes half open, staring at nothing. And suddenly, the entire room understands something terrible happened here. Tonight, we're going to talk about the unsolved death of Christine DACERA. Welcome to the podcast You Can't Unhear. Manila during New Year's Eve feels electric. Crowded streets. Music everywhere. Hotels packed with people celebrating the end of another year. Bright lights reflecting against wet pavement. Everybody trying to forget their stress for just one night. New Year's Eve always carries this strange emotional energy. People drinking more than usual. Staying out later than usual. Making choices they normally wouldn't make. The entire city feels awake at once. Christine Angelica DACERA was only 23 years old. A flight attendant for Philippine Airlines. Beautiful. Smart. Social. The kind of person people naturally gravitated toward. She wasn't just pretty. People around her described her as warm, professional, funny, kind. The type of friend who remembered birthdays, checked on people, made others feel included. And honestly, that's what makes stories like this hit harder sometimes. When the victim feels vividly alive before the tragedy begins. Christine grew up in General Santos City in the Philippines, second of 4 siblings. Close to her family, she studied communication and graduated cum laude, which already tells you something about her. Disciplined, driven, focused. But she wasn't only academic either. She danced, modelled, joined contests, loved travelling, loved posting memories online, and eventually, in 2019, she moved to Manila to chase her dream of becoming a flight attendant. And from everything people said afterward, she genuinely loved her life. Co-workers described her as punctual and classy, always smiling, always friendly, always dependable. And on social media, you could see she had many male friends, which later became a huge talking point online after her death. December 31st, 2020, the final night of the year. Christine checked into room 2209 at the City Garden Grand Hotel in Makati with 3 male friends. Rommel Galido, Gregorio Angelo Rafael de Guzman, and John Pascual de la Serna. At first, everything seemed normal. Friends gathering, music, drinks, photos, celebration. But as the night continued, more people started arriving. Not just 1 or 2. Some reports say 9 people total. Others say 11. 15. Even 16 men eventually connected to the party, depending on the source. That inconsistency became one of the first things people found disturbing, because nobody seemed fully certain who was actually inside that room that night. Christine's family later insisted many of those men were strangers to her, not her friends. Friends of friends. People she had allegedly only just met that evening, which makes the atmosphere feel even more unsettling in hindsight, because somewhere inside this crowded hotel room, surrounded by alcohol, noise, half-familiar faces, something went horribly wrong. Around 12:30 AM, Christine called her family to greet them Happy New Year. That detail breaks my heart, because she sounded normal, happy, alive. She told them there was another party happening later at a hotel in Makati. Nothing about the call sounded alarming. No panic. No fear. No hint that just a few hours later, she would be dead. Meanwhile, outside the hotel, Manila was exploding with fireworks. Crowds celebrating. Cars honking. Music blasting through streets. But inside room 2209, the atmosphere was slowly becoming harder to piece together. At 2:52 AM, Hotel CCTV captured Christine briefly kissing a man wearing a hat. He was later identified as Valentine Rosales. The footage showed Christine appearing social, relaxed, still moving around normally. Then later, at 3:22 AM, another CCTV clip showed her interacting with a different man in the hallway. Meanwhile, other men moved in and out of frame nearby, groups standing at the end of the corridor, watching, talking. Hotel hallways at night already feel creepy somehow. Too quiet compared to party rooms. Long fluorescent lighting. Carpet muffling footsteps. Everybody looking slightly disconnected from reality after hours of drinking. Then came the final footage. 4:13 AM. Christine was seen being assisted back toward room 2209. That was the last confirmed footage of her alive. After that, everything becomes unclear. And honestly, that gap in time is what continues haunting people about this case. Because from roughly 4 AM onward, nobody truly knows what happened inside that room. Morning arrived slowly over Makati. Sunlight beginning to creep through hotel curtains. Hangovers. Exhaustion. The dull quiet after a night of heavy celebration. Around 10 AM, Rommel Galido reportedly woke up and found Christine asleep inside the bathtub. At least, that's what he initially believed. He later claimed he assumed she was heavily intoxicated and decided to let her sleep there. That detail disturbed many people afterward. Because who leaves someone unconscious in a bathtub for hours without checking properly? Especially after a night of partying. According to Rommel, he even placed a blanket over Christine and walked away. Then hours passed. Nobody checked on her again. Not properly. Not seriously. And meanwhile, Christine remained motionless inside the bathroom. Finally, later that afternoon, someone realized something was very wrong. Christine's skin had already started turning blue. No chest movement. No breathing. No response. Panic immediately spread through the room. Friends screaming. Confusion. People running back and forth trying to understand what was happening. Hotel staff rushed in. CPR was attempted, but it was already too late. Christine was transported to McCarty Medical Center, and there, doctors officially declared her dead. The initial reported cause? A ruptured aortic aneurysm. A sudden rupture in the body's major artery. Fast. Catastrophic. Potentially fatal within minutes. And for a brief moment, people thought the tragedy might simply be medical. A horrible accident. But then, the autopsy findings became public, and everything changed. On January 2nd, 2021, an autopsy was performed, and what investigators found immediately triggered nationwide suspicion. Bruises, contusions, abrasion marks across Christine's body, her thigh, her knees, her ankles, her hands. Then came the most controversial detail. Lacerations discovered during the genital examination. And suddenly, social media exploded. Because now people started asking terrifying questions. What exactly happened in that room after 4 a.m? Even stranger, the autopsy reportedly noted that Christine's body had already been embalmed before the examination took place, which made people even more suspicious, because embalming can potentially affect forensic findings. Once public trust starts collapsing in cases like this, every inconsistency begins feeling sinister. Theories spread rapidly online. The first theory, sexual assault. People pointed toward the bruises, the genital injuries, the semen reportedly found during examination. Supporters of this theory believed Christine may have resisted violently, that something happened during the party that escalated horribly, especially because several of the men allegedly became uncooperative with investigators afterward. Some reportedly avoided police initially. Others only came forward after pressure increased publicly. That behavior made the internet even more suspicious, because people kept asking, if this was truly just a medical emergency, why did everything afterward feel so chaotic? The second theory followed the medical findings directly, that Christine genuinely died from a ruptured aneurysm, a condition that can happen suddenly, especially if triggered by physical stress, high blood pressure, substances, or congenital conditions. But even that theory left people uneasy, because according to her family, Christine had never shown symptoms before. And during her Happy New Year phone call only hours earlier, she sounded completely normal. Then came the third theory, possibly the darkest one, that Christine had unknowingly been drugged that night. According to testimony from one of her friends, Christine allegedly said during the party, "I think somebody put something in my drink." After drinking, she reportedly began feeling weak and unwell suddenly. That single statement became one of the most haunting details in the entire case. Because if it's true, then somewhere inside that crowded hotel room, Christine realized too late that something was wrong. People online began obsessively reconstructing timelines, counting people visible on CCTV, analyzing hallway footage frame by frame, trying to identify exactly who entered and left the rooms. What makes this case especially disturbing is how incomplete everything still feels. Too many gaps, too many contradictions, Too many moments where nobody seems fully certain what happened. And in mysteries like this, the unknown becomes scarier than certainty. Because the human brain hates empty spaces in stories, especially stories involving death. Despite the protest from families and people in the Philippines, on April 23, 2021, the Makati Prosecutor's Office dismissed the rape and homicide cases filed against the 11 respondents due to lack of evidence. Christine's final Instagram captions read, "Last flight for this one hell of a year." That line feels devastating now, because when she posted it, she thought she was talking about the end of 2020, not the end of her entire life. Maybe that's why this story stayed with so many people across the Philippines. Not just because of the mystery, but because Christine felt familiar. Young, ambitious, social, alive. Someone who should have had decades left ahead of her. Instead, her final hours became one of the internet's darkest, unanswered mysteries. And somewhere inside room 2209, the truth about what happened that night may still be sitting silently between all those missing hours. Sometimes the scariest stories aren't the ones involving ghosts. Sometimes it's the moments where nobody can fully explain what happened in a locked hotel room after 4 a.m. Stay safe out there, guys. I'll see you on the next episode of the podcast You Can't Unhear.